In my last video, I talked about 5 Gundams beaten by grunts, and while I got some great suggestions for a follow-up to that video, some people also suggested a video about the most brutal deaths in Gundam. I wonder where that came from. But let's start off the actual list on a high note, with a very brutal but oh so satisfying death. Iok-sama. Incompetent, overzealous, and unethical. I don't think many people watching Iron-Blooded Orphans had any sympathy for this man whatsoever. And given that his motto was to crush the enemy with all of his might, it seems almost fitting that he was crushed by a giant pair of scissors. Iron-Blooded Orphans had a lot of brutal and emotional scenes, but because of how badly everyone wanted this disgrace of a pilot dead, this one just had to be the one that I picked. It's cathartic. Unfortunately, that will not be the case for the other people on this list. Despite being a pretty good machine, the Rigazi had a really bad track record, and the brutal death of one of its pilots definitely didn't do it any good either. After getting roughed up for the first time, Amuro moved on to the new Gundam, and the Rigazi was handed to another Law Nobel ace, Keira Su. Unfortunately, the Rigazi continued its unlucky streak of running into better machines, and this time, also a better pilot.
I'll get you! Gundam wannabe?
I've got it now! Oh no!
You've lost all your weapons. I'll grab the Gundam look-alike. I'll use this one as bait.
Not only was Keira defeated, she was humiliated. After taking her out, the enemy Zeon ace captured her and used her in an attempt to blackmail Amuro into surrendering and giving up his new Gundam. Amuro wanted to comply with the demands, but his fin funnels were tuned too sensitively and responded to his instinctual will to survive.
You're resisting, Amuro! You're to blame for this. You chose to ignore my warning.
At the very least, Amuro was able to recover her body and bring her back to her beloved Astonage.
Astonage, stay back! Amuro, that's Keira! Don't look. Keira! I was gonna cook your favorite pasta. Don't you remember?
Astonage. For goodness sake, get her out of here!
Yes, sir.
Throughout Gundam 00, we got glimpses of the sadistic and twisted split personality of one of the Gundam Meisters, Alleluia Haptism. Dubbed Hallelujah, he got this second personality after the Human Reform League's experiments to turn him into a super soldier. And understandably, Alleluia didn't want Hallelujah to take over control, but during battle he would often do so. And when Hallelujah got pissed, just killing the enemy wasn't good enough.
What the?
How does it feel to have your life slowly crushed by overwhelming force with no hope of fighting back?
No, stop! Stop it, please! No!
That's what I call begging for your life. Who do you think of? Your mother or your lover? You're probably seeing memories of your childhood now as they flash before your eyes. Stop it, Hallelujah.
The truly sad thing is that despite Hallelujah being absolutely merciless and Alleluia hating him for that, it was also thanks to him that they were still alive. When the Human Reform League wanted to get rid of him along with the other failed subjects, it was Hallelujah that stepped in, just as he stepped in numerous times during battle. And before we go on, let's take another more lighthearted break with the next one. Norris Packard was an amazing pilot, and combined with his close combat goof custom, he was savage AF. he somehow managed to stab this gun tank in such a way that oil flew out in the same way blood would, making this a very brutal looking death.
He's going right for the crew!
I've got him now, Karen.
Zeta Gundam is known for being a very dark series that was made during Tomino's first depression, so it shouldn't surprise anyone that some of the deaths in Zeta Gundam were extremely brutal. And the one that I remember the best is Camille versus Scirocco. After their new type mind battle, Camille had somehow managed to immobilize Scirocco's machine, but he didn't stop there. With all of his hatred, he transformed the Zeta Gundam into its Wave Rider mode and rammed it into the O, crushing Scirocco with the Zeta Gundam's shield that was now acting as the nose.
Yo, the controls are dead! What's wrong? Why isn't it moving?
Be gone from this world!
I won't die alone. I'm gonna take your soul with me when I go. Camille, be done.
But Scirocco was a trooper. He didn't immediately die and used his last moments and his last new type powers to crush Camille's mind. And this very dark series was then followed up by Double Zeta Gundam, a series that is now mostly remembered for two things. It was suddenly extremely lighthearted, and most people who watched it will tell you that it gets much better in the second half. And this is also when the dark Zeta Gundam atmosphere returns, brutal deaths included. And the one death that really stood out to me was Mashimer Cello's death. He had devoted his life to Haman and her goals. He even willingly turned himself into a cyber new type for her, despite knowing the consequences. But in his mind, it would all be worth it in the end. It wasn't. Captured by enemy Dovan wolves, they wanted to electrocute him to death, but he wouldn't let them. Instead, choosing to self-detonate for Haman.
引っかかったな、マシマ子供騙しが私はやられんぞ。このマシマーセロ、己の肉が骨から削ぎ取れるまで戦う。離脱しろ、早く。ハマーン様、バンザー。何の光。
And while that maybe wasn't as brutal as some of the previous scenes, what made his death the most brutal to me was the reaction afterwards. After everything he had done for Haman, she couldn't care less about his death. And unlike other characters who chased people that were obviously not interested in them, Haman happily went along and milked Mashimer's devotion for all it was worth. Loyal to the end, poor Mashimer deserved better. Gundam Seed has been described as a Gundam series that focuses more on the teen drama between its main characters rather than the war that's going on. But despite that, it still had some pretty gruesome and brutal scenes. I still can't believe how the Astray trio was killed off, and we also got a very graphic and brutal death scene when Tol took the Aegis' shield to his face. But the one scene that always unsettled me the most was when the Cyclops system in Joshua, Alaska went off. Seeing all those people popping like balloons really stuck with me. And just imagine what happened to the few people who were further away from the blast zone and didn't immediately get killed by this. But not every death has to have blood and gore to be brutal. This death in F91 has nothing flashy, just a heavy shell falling on an innocent mother's head, instantly killing her.
Oh no!
What are you doing?
And another brutally real death happened in the original Gundam series. In an attempt to destroy White Base, Char and his team engaged it and the Gundam right before they entered the atmosphere. As a result, timing was everything. and they had to make sure to return before Earth's gravity would pull them down. For Char, this was no problem, but Crown, one of his men, got too caught up in fighting the Gundam and would find out the hard way that the Zaku 2 was not made for atmospheric re-entry. But at the same time, it was sturdy enough not to immediately blow up. This meant that the unfortunate pilot slowly cooked to death in his own cockpit.
少佐シャア少佐助けてください減速できませんシャア少佐助けてくださいクラウンザクには大気圏を突破する性能はない気の毒だがしかしクラウン無駄死にではないぞ
And it would all be for nothing, as unlike the Zaku, the Gundam was able to do atmospheric re-entry unassisted. And finally, we have Victory Gundam. I tried to narrow down every entry to one death per series, but with Victory Gundam, it's near impossible. The percentage of main characters dying is comparable to Game of Thrones, and so is the variety in which they die. If Zeta Gundam was what made Tomino kill 'em all Tomino, Victory Gundam was what confirmed his nickname, again making it very difficult to pick just one brutal death. But at the same time, some of them walk a very fine line between tragic and comedic. These women thought it was a good idea to fight against a mobile suit in bikinis because they thought it would distract the enemy pilot. Instead, they were wiped from existence with a single swing of a beam saber.
Gundam!
The one I remember best is Oin Young. While his death at the guillotine alone would have been enough to put him on this list, his torture beforehand really made this one stick out.
オインジュング伯爵、いい加減に白状していただけないか。ヨーロッパに散らばっている工場と神社ハナムの居場所、自分の意志で喋り敗北したと分かってもらわんとな。
And that was all for this very brutal video. Let me know in the comments down below which one stuck with you the most, whether it's on this list or not. There is a lot of death in Gundam, so I'm very well aware that I skipped over a lot of them. But still, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more similar content. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.